The message popped up in the Peterson family's group chat on Tuesday at 11:45. Things like that aren't written during work hours. They're written with cold, calculated precision, so the recipient doesn't have time for emotion, to respond, to be caught in the clutches of a meeting or deadline. I realized this the moment I glanced at the screen. Dad, Mom and I have made a decision. We're stopping supporting you, Jordan. You're 29 years old. It's time for you to start figuring things out for yourself. I stood in the conference room overlooking midday Manhattan, and the phone shook quietly in my hand. Around the polished table sat 24 bored, important people from a Fortune 500 company. They were waiting for me, Jordan Peterson, to continue selling them fairy tales about modernizing their digital infrastructure. A $40 million contract. $40 million that could save their small, perfectly proper world, which they hadn't even imagined. I looked at the screen, read the dry text from my dad, and immediately, as if on cue, the replies began to creep in, like vultures on a still warm body. Marcus, my brother. Finally. He's always been living off you. Rebecca, my sister. Maybe he'll find a real job now instead of doing this IT consulting nonsense. Marcus. IT consulting equals unemployed with a laptop, lol. Mom. We love you, Jordan, but this will be best for everyone. You need to learn responsibility. Rebecca. Tough love. You can do this, bro. But seriously, get a grip. Every word is a knife. Sharp, sterile, homey. I turned the phone face down on the glossy wood. The sound wasn't loud, but in the quiet room it sounded like a pop. All eyes were on me. As I said, my voice didn't waver. Implementing the third phase will take approximately 8 weeks. During my lunch break, I ran outside. The air was cold and biting. I leaned against the wall of a skyscraper, pulled out my phone, and opened my banking app. My fingers slid across the cold glass as I typed in my password. I found the same account, the impersonal name, Family Support Operations. I went to the payment schedule. The list was painfully familiar, almost automatic. Mortgage payment, $3,200 a month. Car payment, Dad's Lexus, $780. Car payment, Mom's Mercedes, $695. Utilities, gas/electricity, $340. Water, $95. Family phone plan, 5 lines, $310. Home insurance, $425. Property taxes, $650. Total, $6,495. Every month, 60 months straight, $389,700. They thought they were paying themselves. The money left their account and then, like an invisible quiet river, flowed back from my corporate account. A complex financial scheme, a web of LLCs and managed accounts that I wove to preserve their dignity, to keep them from knowing that their unemployed guy with a laptop was the only barrier between their cozy world and the financial abyss. I selected the first payment. My finger paused for a split second. Then I hit cancel. 1, 2, 3. Each click echoed like a dull thud somewhere beneath my ribs. That's it. Done. Then I opened that very chat, that digital family court. I wrote in monosyllables, echoing their cold tone. Understood. The backstory. It didn't start with money. It started with a quiet rebellion 6 years ago, when I was 23. I didn't drop out of college. I dropped out in my 3rd year because I created an algorithm. Just code, that forced 3 companies to fight over the right to license it. I remember a computer science professor, a wizened old man with the eyes of a wise owl, pulling me aside after a lecture. "Jordan, what you've done is worth a lot of money. You're wasting your time on my lectures when you could be building an empire." "My parents will kill me," I muttered. "My parents will forgive you when you succeed," he said. He was wrong. They would forgive the diploma, not the success. I dropped out of school, licensed an algorithm for $800,000, started a company. A year and a half later, contracts were $40,000 a month. By the 3rd year, net income was $150,000 a month. But to them, I was still just a guy who plays with computers. Dad with his constant air quotes around the words, IT consulting. Mom with her bitter sigh. We tried to raise him right. The truth was simpler and more painful. I didn't fit in. Marcus was a Georgetown-educated lawyer, his wife a doctor, a house in the suburbs. Rebecca was an Instagram princess, a picture-perfect marketing director. And I was a college dropout, a bachelor with an old Toyota. It didn't matter that my income was almost $2 million a year. It didn't matter that I was featured in Forbes. I didn't have their trappings. So, I was a loser. A disgrace. The financial support began almost by accident. 5 years ago, at Sunday dinner, I overheard my father talking on the phone in the study. His voice was strained, filled with abject fear. "I understand the payment is late. I can only pay part of it." He saw me at the door and abruptly ended the conversation. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Nothing to worry about," he snapped. That "nothing to worry about" became the starting point. I figured it all out. His real estate commissions had collapsed. They were drowning. And they would never ask for help, especially from me. So I created my quiet, anonymous charity. I convinced myself it was temporary, until my father's affairs improved. Things didn't improve. Never. The first call came 3 days after the cancellation. I was in Seattle. An unknown number. I hung up. 2 hours later, again. Then a voicemail, a female, overly polite voice. "Mr. Peterson, this is Jennifer Wu from First National Bank, regarding the mortgage account at 847 Meadowbrook Drive. We've seen a chargeback." They called my parents, of course, but the contact number in the files was mine, a precaution I'd taken long ago, to control, to protect. I deleted the message, opened my email. To the lawyer. Immediately cease all financial support transactions on the Peterson family's accounts. Notify me if any agencies contact. The reply came almost instantly. Understood. Are you sure? This will create immediate financial hardship for them. I looked at the chat, at my last message, a lone understood in the void. I typed, "I'm sure." The family chat froze in icy silence for almost a week. The silence was louder than any scream. I knew it was the calm before the storm. It struck the following Monday evening when my phone exploded like an alarm. "Mom. Jordan, have you had any problems with your bank? We've been getting some weird notifications." I was at a business dinner at an upscale restaurant. Smiling at my partner in Sydney, nodding, raising my glass. I saw the message. A tiny crack in my perfect mask. I simply set the phone down, face down, on the white tablecloth. Let them wait. Let them hang in this limbo of their own making. 20 minutes later. Dad. "Jordan, I need you to call. It's important." Then Marcus, the leverage. "Yo, Mom and Dad are trying to reach you. Pick up." Rebecca, shrill. "Where are you? Family emergency!" I calmly finished my steak, drank my coffee, paid. I walked to my car. I drove home. Not to my apartment, to my penthouse overlooking the sleeping city. I poured a glass of dark, almost black Cabernet. Only then did I open the chat. My heart beat steadily, calmly. I'd been preparing for this conversation for 5 years, even though deep down I'd prayed it would never happen. I'm here. What's the situation? Dad. Call me. Not for texting. I'm ready to talk here. I watched the dialing light appear, go out, then appear again. He hesitated. Hesitant. Dad. Jordan, there's been some kind of error at the bank. Several payments have bounced this week. Mortgage, car loans, utilities. We're trying to figure it out, but the bank says the backup payment source is offline. For some reason, I have you listed as a contact on the account. Maybe since you lived here? Have they called you? A sip of wine. Tart, rich. It burned my throat with a pleasant burn. They called. I told them I'm no longer involved with these accounts. Mom. What do you mean? Jordan, this is serious. We could be hit with fines. I get it. It sounds stressful. Marcus stormed in like a bull in a china shop. Dude, what's wrong with you? Help them figure this out. I'm not sure what you want from me. Dad said they're cutting off my support, so I'm becoming independent, just like you all wanted. I assume you're handling your own finances too. Rebecca. Now's not the time for your attacks. Mom and Dad need help. With what exactly? Dad, already losing his temper. Jordan, I don't have time for what you're trying to prove. Did you change anything at the bank? Close the account. Another sip. The wine was like liquid steel. I remembered their giggles at the Christmas table, their condescending glances, their certainty of my incompetence, which fed their own egos. I closed the corporate account that processed some automatic payments. It's no longer active. Mom. What payments? Feigning ignorance. Feigning blindness. It made me sick. Different accounts. But as Dad said, you're stopping supporting me, so I've decided you no longer need my involvement in your finances. Silence. Long. Oppressive. The dial indicator flickered again, like an irregular heartbeat. Dad. What are you talking about? That's it. Enough. I took a screenshot. Not just the latest payments, the entire 5-year history of the Family Support Operation account. Dozens, hundreds of lines. Mortgage, First National, $3,200. Auto payment, Lexus, $780. Utilities, gas/electricity, $340. Each number was a nail in the coffin of their illusions. I posted it in the chat. No comment. Let the picture speak for itself. These payments. I covered your mortgage, both car loans, utilities, insurance, and property taxes for 5 years. The corporate account that handled them is now closed. You're on your own, just like you wanted. The chat died. A dead, absolute silence fell. I watched as the red "read" check marks appeared one after another under my message. Mom, Dad, Marcus, Rebecca. No one wrote. 6 long, endless minutes. They were probably huddled around a single screen, unable to believe their eyes, trying to find the catch. Marcus was the first to snap. Always the first. It's fake. You don't have that kind of money. I almost laughed out loud. Bitterly. Sarcastically. Call First National Bank and ask them about the source of your parents' mortgage payments for the last 60 months. They'll confirm it. Rebecca, now hesitant. Why did you do that and not tell them? A question that no longer held anger, but the first glimmer of a terrible understanding. Because they needed help, and they were too proud to ask. Because I actually care about my family, even when they think I'm a loser. Mom, immediately, automatically, like a mantra. Jordan, we never said you were a loser. I lost it. A loud, short, dry laugh erupted from my chest and echoed throughout the quiet living room. Last Thanksgiving, you literally told Aunt Susan that I was still finding myself while Marcus was already established. At Christmas, you introduced me to your friends as someone good with computers. Last month, Dad told me I needed to get serious about life because I didn't have a wife and kids yet. You spent 6 years making me feel like a disappointment. So I kept quiet, paid your bills, and let you think you were doing everything yourself, because I loved you enough to protect your pride. Dad tried to appeal to my pity, making a terrible mistake. Son, we didn't know you were struggling financially too. We never would have taken the money if we'd known you needed it. The audacity. The monstrous, blinding audacity of it. They still saw me as a beggar, even now. I don't have any problems, Dad. I own my own apartment building. I have 7-figure investments. My annual income is about $1.8 million. I'm doing well. Better than good. Marcus, clinging to his last straw. You drive a Toyota because I don't have anything to prove to anyone, unlike some people. Rebecca. If you're so rich, why do you live in that tiny apartment? It's the penthouse. I own the entire building. I live in 2,000 square feet because I don't need more. The rest of the apartments are rented out. Silence again. Deep. Bottomless. A chasm they'd fallen into. Mom, now whispering in a text. Why didn't you tell us? I tried. 6 years ago, when I got my first big contract, I invited you all to dinner to celebrate. Dad spent the entire evening telling me to go back to college because tech bubbles always burst. Marcus gave a lecture on financial stability. Rebecca asked if I'd ever thought about a real job with benefits. So I stopped trying to tell you. I just quietly made sure you were okay and let you think whatever you wanted about me. Dad, trying to reassert his authority. We're your parents. We tried to guide you. You tried to squeeze me into your idea of success. And when I didn't fit, you just wrote me off. The next few days were deafening chaos, which I watched from the outside, as if through thick glass. Mom called 14 times. 14! I watched the screen flicker on and off, feeling nothing but a chilling emptiness. Dad sent a long, convoluted letter about support in his own way and the wrong context. Marcus sent angry, helpless messages, accusing me of manipulation. Rebecca tried to play on my pity. I know you're hurt, but this is cruel. These are our parents. To this I responded. The only time. It's cruel to be the laughingstock of the family for 5 years while literally keeping everyone afloat. It's cruel to listen to them brag about Marcus's salary at every meeting while I pay their mortgage. It's cruel to say, we're stopping your support, when the only support they had was directed in the opposite direction. She didn't answer. No one else wrote. 2 weeks after the cancellation, the lawyer called. His professional, dispassionate voice rang out louder than any shouting. Your father wants to meet. He's asking if you'll see him. No. He's offering to pay it all back. He has some kind of payment plan. That made me freeze. My heart finally sank. Him what? Yesterday he came to my office with a spreadsheet. He wants to pay back the full amount, $389,700, at $2,000 a month. It will take him 16 years. I closed my eyes. My father's face floated before my eyes. Tired, proud, unyielding. That's how I remembered him from childhood, before I learned of his weaknesses. He can't afford it. I told him so. He said he'd manage somehow, sell the cars. He'll move to a smaller house. He'll do whatever it takes. The lawyer paused, rare for his kind. Something almost human sounded in his voice. Jordan, I think he's serious. I felt the ground shift from under my feet. Everything I'd stood on all these years, resentment, bitterness, righteous anger, was suddenly shaken. Tell him no, I whispered, but my voice no longer held its former firmness. No. I said into the phone, and the words sounded like a death sentence, but not to him. I don't want my money back. I never did. That wasn't the point. Then what? His voice was calm, as always, but there was a hint of curiosity in it. I turned away from the window, beyond which the lights of the night city melted. They seemed so distant, so cold now. So they could see me, for real. Not who they wanted me to be, not who they're ashamed I didn't become, just me, Jordan. And they never did. Never. I'll tell them you're canceling the payment plan. What should I tell them about meeting? Tell them I'll think about it. 3 weeks after their world collapsed, he came himself. The concierge's call jolted me out of my work-related stupor. Mr. Peterson, your brother is downstairs. Should I send him up? No, I replied, feeling a cold tightening in my chest. I'll be down. Marcus paced the marble lobby, fiddling with his expensive tie. His suit looked rumpled, and there were dark shadows under his eyes. He froze when he saw me. Nice building, he said, his gaze sweeping over the interior. You really own it? Yes. All 6 apartments? Yes. He ran his hand over his face, a gesture of utter exhaustion. Jesus. Jordan, why didn't you say anything? I told you. None of you listened. I mean, really say it. Show it. Prove it. I don't need to prove my worth to my own family. I didn't move forward. I didn't invite him to sit. I just waited. What do you need, Marcus? Mom's in terrible shape. Dad's trying to sell his car. Rebecca can't stop crying from guilt. He looked up at me, and for the first time in years, I didn't see his usual arrogance. Only confusion. You've proven your point. Can we fix this now? What point do you think I've proven? I asked quietly. That we underestimated you. That we were wrong. Okay, we were wrong. You're successful. We get it. Now can we move on? I laughed. The sound was harsh, dry, devoid of any joy. You think it was necessary to prove I was successful? Is that it, Marcus? I paid their bills for 5 years, never asked for thanks, never shoved it in their faces. I did it because they needed help, and I could help. And the thank you was a message in the chat telling them they were stopping supporting me, while you all laughed. It's not about success. It's about basic human respect. It's about seeing a real person next to you, not a caricature. We didn't know, he shouted. You didn't ask. It's not the same thing. I turned and headed for the elevator. Tell Mom and Dad I'll pay off the mortgage for 2 more months. That'll give them time to refinance to an amount they can actually afford. After that, they're on their own. For real. Jordan, wait. I'm not doing this, Marcus. Not today. Not with you. The elevator doors opened with a soft hiss. You've been making jokes about my career for 6 years. Want to fix something? Start with yourself. The doors closed, cutting off his lost face. 6 weeks after the earthquake, a letter arrived in an envelope with a regular stamp. My father's handwriting, painfully familiar, every curl of which I could recognize with my eyes closed. I wanted to throw it away, but I didn't. I sat by the window, poured myself a glass of whiskey, and tore open the envelope. George, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't blame you if you don't. This week, Mom and I saw a financial advisor. We're moving to a smaller house, one we can afford on our income. We sold both cars and bought used ones with cash. We're cutting expenses wherever we can. We should have done this years ago. We were living beyond our means, and too proud to admit it. Too proud to ask for help. And when help came from you, we were too blind to even see it. Marcus showed me the messages from 6 years ago, when you tried to tell us about your first big contract. I reread what I wrote to you back then. IT bubbles always burst. Get a real job. I don't remember saying those things, but I believe you that they are true. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to know, I see you now. I see what you've built. I see what you've done for us. I see who you are. And I'm sorry I had to lose everything to see the light. I love you, son. I'm proud of you. I should have said that more often. I should have said it at least once. Dad. I read, reread. Every word burned through the paper and reached my heart with a slow, inexorable burn. It wasn't an instant cure. It was the truth, bitter and pure, and it held more dignity than all their previous pretenses. I dialed the lawyer's number. That payment plan from Dad, is he still insisting? Yes. He calls every week, asking if you've changed your mind. Tell him no again. Tell him the debt is forgiven. All of it. Jordan, are you sure? Tell him it was never a debt. It was family taking care of family. I closed my eyes, clutching the letter in my hand. Tell him I'm writing off $389,700 on one condition. What? That he stops trying to pay me back and starts building a life he can actually afford. An honest life, without keeping up appearances. I'll pass it on. After the call, I sat in silence for a long time. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a journey. And the pain was still there, deep and aching. 6 years of neglect aren't erased by one letter. But I could choose. Not let that pain be the only thing that defines us. I could remain the one who helps, without keeping score. Because that's who I was. Always. 2 months later, I agreed to coffee with my mother. We met in a neutral, quiet place, halfway between the two of us. She seemed smaller, shrunken, and there was a new, unfamiliar caution in her eyes. Dad and I closed on a new house yesterday, she said, twirling the cup in her hands. 3 bedrooms, 1 story, easy mortgage. It's nice. Simpler. Okay, I replied. And it was true. Marcus and Rebecca helped us move in. We got rid of so much stuff. Things we kept just to fill space. She stirred her coffee, not looking up. To appear successful. I remained silent, letting her speak. Jordan, I need to tell you something. She finally met my gaze, and her eyes glittered. When you were 16, you built that computer from parts you'd saved up for. You were so proud of it. And I remember Dad saying he didn't understand why you spent money on it when you could have just bought one. And you tried to explain that you wanted to understand how things worked, not just use them. Her voice wavered and broke. And we didn't listen. We didn't see you becoming who you are. We just saw a kid throwing money away. Mom. No, let me finish. We've done this over and over again. Every time you tried to show us who you were, we told you to be someone else. Someone we could understand. Someone who fit in. Tears streamed down her cheeks, silent and steady. And you still became successful. You became generous. You became a good person. Not because of us, in spite of us. I silently handed her a paper napkin. She took it, clutched it in her fingers, and we just sat like that, in a silence that, for the first time in years, wasn't hostile, but simply silence. A place where we could begin to breathe again. I don't know how to fix 6 years of blindness, Mom breathed, her words hanging in the air of the cafe, fragile and naked. I don't know if you even want me to try. But I'm asking. Not for everything to go back to the way it was, because the way it was broken. I'm asking if we can build something new, something honest. I looked at her and thought of my father's letter. the ink seared with pain. Of Marcus's lost face in the lobby. Of Rebecca's messages which, little by little, changed from defensive to sincere, awkward as first steps. "I don't need you to fix 6 years," I said quietly, almost in a whisper. "I need you to see me in the next 6, and the ones after that. I need you to stop measuring my life by Marcus's, Rebecca's, or anyone else's. I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing, even when it doesn't look like what you expected. We can do this. I can do this." A faint but stubborn hope glimmered in her eyes. "And you?" "I want to try." She reached across the table, her hand hovering a centimeter from mine, hesitant to touch it, afraid of rejection. "Will you let me try?" I looked at her. Really? I saw not just a mother disappointed in her son, but a woman terrified of what she had almost lost forever. I saw in the depths of her eyes the shadow of the mother who once helped me make posters for school projects, before the wall of her expectations grew between us. "Yes," I said, and a weight lifted from my soul, opening the way for something new, something fragile. "Finally, I'll let you." The old family chat died. It lay silent for 3 months, like a mass grave for our old grievances. Then, one unremarkable day, a new window appeared on the screen. New beginnings. Only 5 participants. Mom, Dad, Marcus, Rebecca, me. Dad was the first to write. "Jordan, I saw an article about corporate cybersecurity contracts. It made me think of you. I'm sending you the link. Maybe you'll find it interesting." The attached Wall Street Journal article was exactly about my niche. I stared at the screen. In 6 years, he'd never sent me anything related to my actual work. Not once. "Thanks, Dad. By the way, I'm quoted in that article. On page 3. Pause. Then, "Dad, really? I'll read the whole thing. This is incredible, son." Mom, "Our son is in the Wall Street Journal. I'll send it to everyone I know." Marcus, "That's really cool. Congratulations." Rebecca, "I took a screenshot and posted it on Instagram. I hope you don't mind. I want people to know my brother is a genius." I smiled. Involuntarily. Sincerely. "I don't mind." It wasn't a complete healing. 6 years of pain don't fade in a day. But it was a beginning. A real beginning. A year after that fateful Tuesday, we celebrated Thanksgiving in their new, modest home. Everything here was different. Real. The furniture was mismatched, but cozy. The dishes weren't a perfect set. Dad carved the turkey without any pompous speeches about Marcus's career advancement. Mom didn't compare her children's life choices. Rebecca inquired about my projects with genuine interest. Marcus listened. Just listened. After dinner, Dad took me into the kitchen. "I've been going to these financial responsibility seminars," he said, a little sheepishly. "Learning how to budget, how to live within my means, all the things I should have learned a long time ago." "That's good, Dad." "I wanted to show you something." He pulled out his phone and opened a financial tracking app. "Look, I track everything. Income, expenses, savings. I now pay all my bills 3 months in advance. With my own money." The pride in his voice, the pride of basic, honest adulthood, tightened my throat. "I'm so happy for you. I know I can't give that money back. But I can give back that lesson. The one you taught me." He looked at me straight. That true success isn't about seeming. It's about being. Being honest. Being consistent. Being someone who helps without needing applause. "You taught me that lesson first," I countered quietly. "Before things got complicated. You used to help your neighbors fix their cars for free, remember?" He blinked in surprise. "I forgot about that." "I didn't. I thought that's what fathers were supposed to do. I tried to be like that. We were standing in his kitchen, in a house he could afford, and for the first time in years, I felt like he wasn't seeing the shadow of his disappointment, but me. I'm proud of you, Jordan. Of your work. Of who you are. I should say that more often. Yes, I nodded. It should. I'm proud of you, son. Thank you, Dad. That wasn't all, but it was enough. 2 years later, I signed my biggest contract yet, to modernize cybersecurity for a federal agency. The $200 million figure leaked into the public domain, and from there onto CNN. At 7 in the morning, the phone broke the silence. Dad, his voice trembling. Jordan, Mom and I were just watching CNN. Did you really sign a $200 million contract? For 3 years, yes. There was a hollow silence on the other end. Then he said, his voice breaking, Oh my God. I'm speechless. This is amazing, son. I'm sorry. For every time I told you to get a real job. For every hint that you weren't successful. For making you feel like you had something to prove. He swallowed. You left us all far behind, and we were too blind to see it. It's not about leaving anyone behind. I know, that only hurts. You weren't trying to outdo us. You were just being yourself, doing your job, taking care of your family. And we punished you for it. I looked out my office window at the sun rising over the city, and I felt not triumph, but a strange, deep peace. It's okay, Dad. Really? Are you sure? Yes, I am. And I really was sure. Some endings aren't neat. Some scars remain forever. But some bridges can be rebuilt. Not with the same planks, but new, strong ones, capable of withstanding the truth. My parents will never know the guy who desperately needed their approval. That guy died in the conference room when that message came through. But they know me, who I am now. The one who achieved success on his own terms. The one who helps without demanding gratitude, but also without accepting neglect. The one who understood that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let your loved ones fall and get up on their own. Especially if those loved ones are your family. Marcus and I now have lunch once a month. We don't dwell on the past. We talk about the present, about work, about life. Rebecca calls for real advice. She's building her own small, honest business. Mom and Dad are living in their own house, budgeting, learning the honest life they should have built long ago. And I'm still in the same penthouse, still driving the same Toyota, still creating, signing contracts, and helping those in need. But now my family knows who I am. And finally, that's enough.